Mother of teenage boys. This is my son right here. This is my son right there. That's my son right there hiding his face. But look at my sons. Michael Brown was only a few inches taller than my youngest son. And yet a cop shot him because he feared him. A cop shot him because he feared him. Is a cop going to look at my son and fear him? My sons have never did anything wrong. Are they going to be walking down the street with the headphones in their ear and not listening, and then they think that they're uncompliant? That's what's going to happen. I fear every day that my sons walk out that door, that they're not going to come back. And they're not going to come back because of some prejudiced cop who's not following protocol, who thought that my sons would resist an arrest. This is a natural fear that I have every single day, and it's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen like that. I'm supposed to be able to let my kids go to school, let them go to the store, let them go to a friend's house without having to worry about whether or not who's going to take my son out. I should never have to worry about something like that. But I do. And when they had that verdict for Michael Brown, the first thing I did was cry. Because all I can think of is that could have been my son. Right. That could have been my son. My sons are good kids. But even if they weren't, even if they were gangbangers, they should all actually be able to go to a trial. They should not be gunned down. They should not be, it should not be the cop thinks he's judge, jury, and executioner all at once.
That's right.
Ever. So that's what I'm here for today. That's why I'm putting my hands up. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
And this summer, we were going down Acushnet Ave, going home, and gang unit pulled us over. They said I was speeding. I was going the speed limit, maybe even slower because I just stopped at the stop sign. They asked me for my license and registration. As I reached over, my son sat up from the back seat because he was asleep. One of the officers pulled out his gun and aimed it at my son. I was like, oh my God, my son, he was asleep. He was horrified. My father came over and was like, everything okay? The cop said, she had a bad sticker. He said, I thought I was speeding. He never gave me a ticket for either or. He told me go on my way. The very next day, less than 24 hours later, I get surrounded again by gang unit. They blocked me in. I almost hit the house after I jumped the curb. And they said, do you let anybody else drive your car? I'm like, no, I just came from work. You sure you don't let no one else drive your car? I just came from work. License and registration. As I reached over again to get my registration out of the glove box, the officer on the passenger side took out his gun and aimed it at me. I told him to get my registration out himself. I cried. I was petrified. I went to go make a report, and they told me the police and gang unit are two separate stations, which I'm finding out now that's not.
So I obviously in Bedford as well, but something that struck me, when I was living in Los Angeles, there was an organization called Hombres Unidos. And they did many things, but one of the things they did, one of the things I volunteered with, was tutoring gay members who were no longer active to learn to read, and also women gay members. Many of them were illiterate, and that's why they were involved in crime. And one of the young men that I was working with, he was considered an OG because he was almost 30 years old, and a lot of them died before they were like 23. Whenever we would go, like the way they organized it, if you were a woman tutoring a man, you always had someone with you. Not that they were going to do anything, but just for legal reasons. But whenever we would go pick him up, we'd always get pulled over. So we took him to a library because he had his license suspended. And they'd pull him out of the car, and they'd run everything. They would waste like an hour and a half of our time. And we would always tell them we're tutoring him, to the point where I would bring a blanket, and he'd get in the back. We'd pull around the back, and we'd get in the back of the car, and we'd cover him with a blanket to drive out. And it was like, I was telling my girlfriend that I'm from a place in New Bedford where runaway slaves would go, and I literally felt like I was freeing a slave. And the gang unit that was really on them, they were later disbanded because of corruption in Los Angeles. So I feel like it's a prevalent problem. It's across our country, and it doesn't change. It hasn't changed over time, and that it's still a form of slavery that we need to fight. And I know people are going to complain that we're, turning tourists away. But I'll go back to when I was younger and fighting against apartheid in South Africa, and they were building Sun City, and people protested, and people were actually upset because their gambling experience was getting ruined. So I think we should continue to make ourselves uncomfortable and other people uncomfortable, living a comfortable life when other people are being sacrificed.
Yeah.